Good?
That's good.
All right, so good evening, guys. Thanks for coming tonight. Tonight we have a very special guest from the Office of Technology Transfer. It's a new office that they opened up this year. And so whether you've already started your own company or have an idea for, a brand or for a company, you'd want to get legal advice as early as possible. And this person is the ideal person to talk to for that. So whether if it's, forming a company in the future or seeking financials or setting up agreements and whatnot, this person would be the most ideal person to talk to on campus. So without further ado, here's Dr. Marie Tomak.
Thank you. So, as you mentioned, this is a new office here on campus, and I guess it's been thought of for a while, and then we're very fortunate at Cal Poly Pomona to have actually worked with industry and helped us out with setting up the office and funding the office. Because it's important that we have some money set aside in order to have the university protect its own patents and to file for patents and to make sure that we have all the services we need in the office to operate efficiently, such as one thing I'm going to talk to you guys about tonight is doing patent searches and some software that I use to do patent searches, but how you can do your own. So usually the question I get is frequently asked of me is, how did you get in this? And I want to, in particular, cover that with you guys tonight because at one point in time I was sitting exactly where you guys are sitting. Of course, styles were a little bit different then, and we didn't have laptops, but we still were all very, very much interested in starting our own businesses or helping somebody else with an interesting idea that could be converted into a business, what we call commercialization. So I was a student at the University of New Mexico, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career, and I liked all my business classes, but I knew I didn't want to be an accountant, and I wasn't really pre-law, and I didn't want to go into economics, although I had a minor in it. And I was like, well, how does this all pull together? And I thought sooner or later I would figure it out. And I was very fortunate that the dean of our business school, Ray Radosevich, happens to be a real guru in this field, and what he had done is he had put together a class called, for new ventures and new startups. And what we started doing was taking technologies that had been developed at the national laboratories and writing a business plan for those, and then seeing if, when we wrote the business plan, whether there were any investors interested in it and start a business. Sometimes the business that we were looking at, or I should say the technology that we were looking at, because they were all pre-business and pre-funded, sometimes the technologies were going to evolve into a business, and the person who developed the technology, the scientist or the faculty member, had an idea that they wanted to run the business, or at least in the early stages of the business's formation. And other times they didn't really want that. They wanted to go find a management team. So what we did is, in the class, we operated in teams, and each team would take a technology that was assigned to them, and we'd go do the market research on it and figure out what the market potential was for it, and develop a commercialization plan or a business plan and present it and compete with each other. So in my class, our team of, this may ring a bell for some of you, our team of 6 whittled down 1 week before the final to 2 of us. And in each one of the teams, one person was in charge of doing the pro forma financial spreadsheet, and one person was in charge of doing the market. And so we had to do, the 2 of us had to put this together at the last minute, or flunk, and we had to cover all the bases. And so that was a really good experience. And I remember the night we were getting ready to present, my partner and myself on the team, we said, well, we'll come in last in the class. I mean, this is a given. And actually, our faculty members so much appreciated what we had done as a 2-person team that at the end of the presentations, he came up to us and offered us a job. And so I started working at the university, and we've gotten funding from the National Science Foundation. And Dr. Radosevich formed this as the Technology Innovation Program, which was a precursor to the university actually moving forward towards a full tech transfer office. And that's what I did for like the next, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. Is I helped identify new technologies that faculty and scientists had developed, and then write the business plan for them, and then go out and find a management team or find a investor interested in it. So we were doing this back in the early 80s, and the interesting thing is that we probably had a portfolio of actual companies that consisted of maybe 6 or 7 companies, and out of that, a couple of them became very successful. And so the funds from licensing that out and the university's position actually funds today an endowment at the university that funds the students continuing to have their student business plan competition. And it's a very nice event. And this past spring, I was fortunate to go back on campus and be a judge for the student business plan competition. And they divided into 2 categories. One category is for technical products, and the other is non-technical. And I think first prize is something like $20,000. So the companies that we formed and the money that was made actually went into the endowment, so that next generation of students and the generation after that can learn the skills that you're learning and be able to learn entrepreneurship and how you make money off of your business ideas. So that being a model, and then I went on to work at 2 national laboratories and in several other universities. And so that model is something that I take with me when I go out and I talk to groups about, because it's been some, 3 decades now, and you can look back and see what, when you're starting this, what the accomplishments have been and how many people have been able to learn and start successful businesses. I mean, the list of alums from the program is really, really astonishing. So, but we're on this campus, we're very, very early stage. As I said to you, we're just starting up the tech transfer office. Can I ask you, how long has Poly Founders been here?
2 years.
2 years? Okay. And what was the impetus of it? Just sitting around having a cup of coffee at Starbucks thinking about, creating a business?
I was doing stuff.
Okay. So you wanted to apply what you're learning in your classes, and you wanted to think about whether, it's just sort of envision how you would start a business and what do you need to learn about starting a business. And so as part of my career, I also worked for the Small Business Administration. They have a program called the SBDCs. And every community has an SBD funded by the federal government's Small Business Administration. And SBDCs help people who are starting businesses or have existing businesses and want to move them up to the next level. And they do counseling, one-on-one type counseling on business issues, and it's free of charge. So one of the other resources available to you is to connect with your local SBDCs and see what assistance they can provide you as you move forward with your business idea. So usually when I do counseling with businesses or startups, one of the first questions that I get is, okay, so I have this great idea. How do I know if this idea is really going to make money? And then, so that's step number 1. They usually put it to you this way. That's step number 1. Step number 2, how do I protect it, the idea? And step number 3 is usually along the lines of, where the heck do I find money for it? And, what should I do? Should I look for the money first and then protect it, or protect it and then look for the money? So you guys are fortunate that you're here at Cal Poly, and we've got classes that teach you that, and you're going to learn that. But there's a lot of people out there who have to learn it by hook or crook, And some people have spent a lot of time and a lot of money trying to figure out the very things that your faculty bring to you every single class, right? So your education is already paying off. And I hope when you become successful entrepreneurs, you remember Cal Poly and the resources that were here,
and you're able to write a check back to the school, right? And say, this is where I got my beginning. So there's people out there that really and truly struggle with how to start a business and don't know the first steps. So let me see if I can kind of answer those 3 most frequently asked questions. Number 1, how do I know if I have a good idea? So one of the things that you're in this field long enough, you get, sort of rear vision. And so rear vision, and you can kind of look back and go, wow, I remember that technology, didn't think that was going to work. And it did, okay? Or the opposite, I thought this was going to work and it didn't. So we all know the stories about, for example, and this really goes back a long time, what was going to work, the beta version or, on your VCR or something else, Or we know the successful stories about Microsoft Windows. But there were other software out there. So how do you know what's going to work and what isn't going to work? And I wish that I had a crystal ball, because then I'd be very, very wealthy, because I get it wrong, and everybody does get it wrong, okay? So some of it is just luck. But the best thing you can do is solid market research. So I was talking to you a minute ago about going back and being a judge at my alma mater's student business plan competition. And back in the spring when I was there on campus and the students were doing their business plan presentations, I just couldn't believe it, and we're a good school at University of New Mexico, but still a lot of students had missed the point of, it's one thing to do secondary market research, but what you want to do is primary market research. So primary market research is where you actually go out and talk to users, okay? It's not what you find in the books, it's not what you find in ordering market reports. Once it's been produced and packaged and synthesized into a report, that's secondary data. The most important thing is to put together both of them so that, yes, you find out the market size by looking at a research report, either one that's available to you free or you can pay for one, and you look at all the market data. But that in itself isn't going to tell you enough. You have to actually talk to the people who are going to use it and let them ask you questions. So one of the things that I find we tend to do is we say, oh, okay, I had developed this, and let me tell you everything that it does. And you go into this pitch, okay? But you're not listening. You're telling the customer what it does, why it does it, how much it's going to cost. You do the whole pitch, but you're not listening on the back side of it. So a lot of times I will see people who will do a pitch and they'll say, and these are people who are in business all the time, and they'll make a pitch and they'll say, so would you buy this? And people will always say yes, because they don't want to offend you, right? Okay, well that's not the right question to ask. The right question is how would you use it? Not will you buy it, how will you use it? So one of the things that I've learned from working in technologies and now being able to look back is the most valuable information you can get is from the people who are going to use it, because once you sell something in the marketplace, online, in a store, it doesn't matter, your customers then own it, and they go out and they're going to use it however they want to use it, and they'll come up with whole new uses that you never even thought of, okay? So when I work with small business owners that have had a business for a while, I said, we can't figure out. We started off really good. We were selling these, and we sold it to the markets that we thought, and then something just happened. We plateaued, or we dropped off. So go back and talk to your customers and figure out how they're using it, okay? So customers are really creative about how they're going to use something. Just because you sell them a hammer doesn't mean they're going to take it home and use it to build a house. They may take it home and, I don't know, kill the rats in their apartment or something, whatever, okay? So you have to go back and you have to ask people, how are you going to use this? That's valuable. So market research will tell you whether you've got a good idea or not. And it's primary market research and it's secondary market research. Secondary is when you go out and you read what other people produce. Primary is when you actually talk to potential users, right? Okay, so that's one idea, because after you do a little bit of that, you can eliminate your bad ideas, your really bad ideas. And then you have those that you're still not sure of, okay? Well, one of the things that you now can move to is, if I think I've got something good, how do I know that I'm the only person that has thought of this? Is it protected by somebody else? They've already thought of it and protected it? And if that's the case, how is mine slightly different? And can I still protect it? So now we're looking at not only market research, but now you're looking into patent research, right? So one of the things that we have that's really great here in the United States is that we have the U.S. Patent Office, which makes available all the patents, not only the patents that are issued, but the patents that are filed. So it generally takes you about 4 or 5 years to get a patent issued to you. And it used to be that the Patent Office did not share with the public any information on patents other than patents that have already issued. Then they went back, and now they actually share with you information about who's filed